Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to our /entitled people, where you'll hear ridiculous stories about people who truly believe that nobody else matters but themselves. Guys, I hope you're having another wonderful day today. And listen, today's stories are absolutely crazy, just like all the other episodes. You guys know the drill. Sit back, relax, because people are about to Karen. Oh, and do hit that subscribe button for future stories. So, this happened years ago when my husband and I lived on a military base and I ran an in-home daycare that was regulated through Child and Youth Services. We had one child of our own, and it was a remote base, so jobs were scarce, so I figured that this was a good option for me to work and to be able to stay at home with our kiddo. Now, the daycare spots were a shortage, and that meant that I was full and I even had a wait list. This also meant that I could kind of pick and choose the kids that I had in my care. I even became friends with one of the parents, and that was my mistake. So, this mom, and let's call her Karen, seemed to be normal. She wasn't entitled when we first met. We even had her family over for barbecue on a couple of weekends and things were good. During the time of having the daycare open, I became pregnant with our second child. I have issues with headaches, and when I'm pregnant, they get so much worse. Now, the Karen then began asking me to babysit after hours for free, as friends for her. Now, I agreed once, in exchange for her watching our son once in return, and she agreed. I watched Karen's kids, and she never followed through and watched ours. She would always say she was busy. Now, after that, Karen frequently asked me to allow her kids to stay late and to not get charged. And she also would ask me to babysit after hours for free, and each time I would say no and use my headaches as a reason. You can't use being pregnant as an excuse forever, you know. You'll have to watch my kids one of these days. I told her, no, not forever, but for about 9 months. And it was about this time that I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep running my daycare after a couple of months because of the high-risk nature of my pregnancy. I started by informing the parents, and I gave them 2 months' notice to find care. Now, I wanted to be fair, and I knew it might be hard to find care. I was also releasing them from their contracts as soon as they could find care, and they did not need to give me notice. I handed out the letters at pickup that day. Karen waited until the other parents left, walked up to me, and tore up her letter with a smile. Karen says, "Ugh, good riddance. I don't want my kids hanging around those other kids anyways." Now, she said this to me as she was crumpling the paper in her hands. I told her, sure, but you did get the gist, right? She says, yeah, you're closing your daycare because you're pregnant and don't want to deal with all those other people. I told her, no, I'm closing because I have a high-risk pregnancy and my doctor says I shouldn't be chasing after all these kids, and I will have lots of appointments. So she then says, yeah, but you can still watch my kids, right? And since you won't be a full daycare, you can do it for a lot cheaper. I told her, Karen, I'm closing my daycare. Okay, then at least you can watch my kids for free while I find a daycare and be my backup daycare, right? I told her, I'm sorry, but I'm not doing that. She then says, this is ridiculous. Women get pregnant all the time, and you already have to watch your son. You can totally watch my 2 kids too, or are you telling me you can't even watch your son either? I told her, I'm not going into this. I think it's time for you to find a new provider. Fine, but I don't think I should have to pay you while I look. You have to pay me, or I'm gonna stop watching your kids. So at this point, Karen leaves with her kids. She kept bringing her kids, and when it came time for her payment, all of a sudden her husband came to get the kids and to drop them off, and told me that Karen will be bringing the payment. This went on for 2 days, and I told him that if I wasn't paid, I would not accept the kids into care, and they would still owe me for the past due. So Karen shows up on the 3rd day and wrote a check, but it bounced, and that was it. I then contacted CYS and let them know per the contract. I gave them an invoice with a $25 NSF fee and a 48-hour notice to pay in full, in cash. Karen's husband shows up and paid, but he said that Karen was going to be upset because she didn't want to pay. I guess she felt that I should be watching her kids for free since I was closing my daycare. So I talked to her husband and said that I feel it's best that he finds new care as soon as possible, and that until he does, I would need to be paid in advance for the care. I had the kids for 2 weeks more. So a funny later event that happened. So after I gave birth to our daughter, I guess she saw on Facebook, Karen calls me. This had to be about a year and a couple of months after closing the daycare. She messages me asking if I could babysit her kids while she went to Las Vegas to a military ball for free, and I said no. Oh my freaking goodness, guys. Some people feel that they need to ask over and over again until they hear the answer they want to hear. The mom was definitely so entitled, she can't take no for an answer. Like seriously, I can't believe she said to OP that you can't use being pregnant as an excuse forever. You have to watch my kids one of these days. No she doesn't. OP doesn't have to do anything for you, Karen. You silly, silly lady. Now, it's snowing where I live. A lot more than what we're used to getting. We live in a military town. The schools and most other businesses follow the base's lead when it comes to weather-related closures. The base is essential personnel only right now, so I got the day off. I live right across the street from base housing. My husband and I decided to buy our house instead of living there, but we're still close enough to utilize their parks. Now, to the story. The base housing has a little park every block or less. Honestly, it's a ridiculous amount of parks. We normally just go to the one closest to our house, but since it's been snowing, we decided to go to the one further away, because it has better hills for sledding. My oldest, who's 4 years old, was bundled up tight and using his sled down the hill and then hiking back up. At one point in time, he got distracted and he left the sled, at which point another child jumped on it and was playing with it. That's fine. Kids will be kids. No big deal. My son decided that he wanted to hike back up and went to get a sled. Now, it's important to know that I'm holding my youngest, who's 3 months old, and because of that, it's unsafe for me to go down the hill in case I fall. Now, I couldn't hear what my oldest was saying to the kid, but eventually he got his sled back and was dragging it up the hill. And then enters the mom. My son is up the hill now and walking towards me when he's stopped by a woman, who we'll call Karen. I see her reaching for my son's sled, and my son very audibly says, "No, I used my words." Now, I want to note that we're teaching him to use his words instead of hitting when he's frustrated. Karen then reaches for the sled again as I'm walking up. I said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" Karen asked, "Is this your son?" I said, "Yes, he is. Again, can I help you?" "Your child stole this from mine. I watched him." Now, I told her that's his sled. I bought it for him last Christmas. Your child was playing with it for a while and then mine wanted it back. Karen then says, "No, my child said he found the sled in the bushes and was playing with the sled and yours took it." I told her I watched everything that happened. Your child was playing with my son's sled. That's not some random kid's sled he found in the bushes. So Karen then looks me up and down and says, "I've never seen you before. Are you even supposed to be here? You know this park is restricted, right? This is military families only." I tell the Karen I'm well within my rights to utilize the park. Now at this point, I grab my son with his sled and I go to walk away. But that would be too easy, right? Karen grabs the sled from my son's hand and turns around and walks away. I yell, "Excuse me, you do not take things from my child. Who do you think you are?" She turns to me and says, "What did you just say to me?" I said, "Give him his sled back. I'm not playing right now." Karen then throws out, "Do you even know who I am? My husband is an E8 Master Sergeant. You can't speak to me that way." I told her, "Congratulations. Your husband's rank absolutely has nothing to do with you stealing from my child." Now, I yanked the sled back. I picked up my toddler, and keep in mind, I'm still holding my youngest, and went to walk away. Karen then grabs for the sled again, causing me to lose my footing. And thank God I didn't fall, because I probably would have had her head. I told her, "Look, your husband has nothing to do with my husband's career, but your actions have everything to do with his. Keep this up and I will get the MPs involved. Touch me, touch either of my children or the sled again, and I will knock you flat. I'm not playing this game anymore. What you just did put both my kids in danger. Now walk away." Now at this point, Karen says, "You dare threaten me in front of my child? Who do you think you are? I will report this. I've never even seen you here before. You don't belong here." I told her, "You've never seen me because I work for a living. I don't give a damn about what your kid hears. I'm walking away, and if you touch me again, I will not hesitate to hurt you. This is my last warning." Karen was yelling more as I walked away, and then proceeded to glare at us until my son got cold and we went to walk back. I've heard of these types of people online, but I can't believe that I've encountered one in the wild. I've dealt with my fair share of entitled people, but trying to steal from a 4-year-old, endangering a 3-month-old, that's a new low for me. So my friends, the story does end here, but OP does have some juicy updates, and here they are. OP says, "I talked to my husband and he's pretty pissed, more so than me, which is weird coming from Mr. Non-Confrontational. I gave the description of the woman to my husband and 2 coworkers who are also spouses. So right now, we have 3 different people asking around to see if we can find the name of that woman and therefore find the husband. As of now, my husband wants to talk to him one-on-one to see if we're able to find him. His plan is to give our side of the situation and ask him to correct it on his end. That way, if an encounter happens again with me, I can report it guilt-free. And a lot of people were asking about their rank. They are both an E5, not an E8 Master Sergeant like she said. That's part of what puzzles me. The lady's husband might be an instructor, but he isn't a chief, or an officer, or even related to my husband's job. The only reason I went to this park yesterday was because of the snow and better hills. My kids and I usually go to the park close to our house or the beach, and we usually only go on the weekends, since those are my days off. In the year I've been there, I've never encountered this woman. I'm not even ashamed of how I reacted once she put my kids in danger. And you know what? You shouldn't be. Mama Bear's gotta protect her baby cubs, right? OP had every right to react how she did. This woman was super hostile and she tried to aggressively take the sled away from a 4-year-old after being told multiple times that it did not belong to her son. Now guys, listen, I've read so many stories of people pulling rank in ridiculous situations such as this, and OP's right. Who the heck cares what rank your husband is? You're literally trying to justify stealing from a 4-year-old because your husband has a military rank. Good for you, Karen. So I work at an animal shelter, which is a magnet for the crazy and over-entitled of the world. Enter a 60-year-old entitled grandma. Now, she comes into our shelter with this tiny little poodle that's just skin and bones. It's missing hair and blind, and it's seemingly deaf. The dog literally looks like it died months ago. Well, the grandma brings this dog in and says it's a stray that she found. We ask her the basics. Do you live in this county? Is one of the biggest questions that we ask. Now, we ask this because what some people don't know is that every county in a state has its own county animal shelter, or animal control facility. Any stray animal found must be brought to their county shelter. It's illegal to take a stray animal from one county and surrender it to an animal shelter in a different county that you don't live in. Now, with that being said, the grandma does not live in the county. However, she claims to have found the dog running down the road in our county. Okay, it happened. We take the dog in, and I get called to do its medical exam. I make sure the dogs and cats and whatever else we get in has their proper shots and medications so they don't get sick while here, or if they are sick, we can at least start getting them healthy. So I take the little poodle into the back, and the first thing I do is scan any animal coming in for a microchip. The chip comes up instantly. Now I researched the chip, and sure enough, it's from the next county over that the lady lives in, registered to that county's animal control. Now this is a red flag for me. This tells me that it's her dog. However, I follow through and contact the next county's animal control. They pull up the chip number and give me the owner's name, address, and phone number, and lo and behold, the dog does not belong to her. Okay, I think to myself, we've been wrong before. I called the owner on the chip. The owner is not the grandma, but it turns out that the owner is her daughter. So I call the daughter and I tell her that it's OP from County Animal Shelter. Are you missing a small poodle? The daughter says, No, I got a poodle for my mother as a present back in 2016. Did it get lost? I told her no, your mother brought it in and told us that it's a stray that she found. She falsified information on a government form and abandoned her animal. Now these are pretty serious issues. She needs to come get her dog now. The daughter says, I understand. I'll call her and make sure she comes back and gets her dog. About half an hour goes by and my desk phone goes off. It's the daughter's number. I think, okay, this is them. They're gonna call me and tell me they're coming back. At least that's good news. But nope. I answer and say, County Animal Shelter, this is OP speaking. The daughter sounds very frustrated and she says, yeah, this is me calling back. So my mom isn't coming back for the dog? She says she doesn't want it anymore because she thinks it's old and ugly. And I wish I was kidding, but I don't know what to say. She demands I get her a teacup chihuahua instead. Now I tell her, well, that's between you and her, but either you or her need to come get this dog, as it's an actual crime to surrender your animal to a shelter in a county that you don't live in, let alone the animal abandonment charges and putting down false information on a government form. The daughter says, I understand, but I work in another county and can't make it in time to get the dog. When does it need to be picked up? I told her, then your mother needs to be an adult and come get her dog. She's got until the end of the day, otherwise I'll be filing a police report. The daughter then replies with, well, she's old. She shouldn't have to deal with this kind of stress. I tell her she should have considered that before she lied to us and abandoned her animal. Have you ever seen this dog? It's skin and bones. You're aware that animal cruelty is a felony in the state, right? She then huffs and says, fine, I'll come get the damn dog. I tell her we close at posted hours and she hangs up and I go to lunch. I doubt I'll ever see her or her mother, but I'm true to my word. If they don't get here by the end of the day, they're going to be dealing with the police instead of us. So with 3 minutes left to go until we close, and no mom or the daughter in sight, this will now become a police matter. I gave them plenty of time to get here and now they can deal with felony charges. So OP does have updates and here they are, guys. There's no word from the mother or the daughter either. I doubt they'll show up again at this point. The poodle is doing great though. She's getting the food and medication she needs and already seems more energetic. So the plus side is in shelters that the smaller dogs always tend to get adopted first. And so once she's medically cleared for adoption, she will most likely get a home that day. The poodle was placed with a senior dog rescue that already has a foster lined up. The pupper has been medically cleared, so they're gonna be just fine. As for the mom, the police made contact. She committed a crime in the county, therefore she's having charges placed against her in this county. As for when the court date is, or any further information on the case, it won't be included, as it's now between the mom and the county. I do know that it's not gonna go well for the mom though. What in the world, my friends? I literally cannot believe this story. This woman doesn't deserve another dog. Seriously, I wonder what the charges are that she got slapped with, and I hope she goes to jail. Like, seriously, giving away a dog because it's old and gross? What the heck, lady? I'm done, guys. I'm actually done. That's it for today's episode of r/EntitledPeople. Wow, I am still baffled by that story. Giving away a dog because it's old and gross. Ugh, that's so heartbreaking. Guys, if you enjoyed the stories today, do hit that thumbs up. And if you missed the last episode of r/EntitledPeople, I will link it right here. A Karen has a public freakout because a restaurant allows transgenders to be served. Yikes. Guys, check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.